say her name again. Anyway.
Okay, I see it's 9 o'clock. We'll call this meeting to order. Welcome to the July edition of the Iowa 911 Communications Council. We'll start off with introductions starting to my left and then to George, and George will go out and help introduce the people in the crowd.
James Chambers, CenturyLink, representing Large Telecom.
I'm Blake DeRucci, Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management, 911 Program Manager.
Tracy Bearden, represent Iowa NENA, Polk County Emergency Management.
Robbie Johannesson, Iowa DPS.
Lawrence Harpence representing IJIC. I work for Westcom.
Rob Broder, representing Iowa State Sheriffs and Deputies Association.
Mike Bryant, Iowa Professional Firefighters.
Rob Dennard, Iowa EMS Association.
Jack D'Angelo, Sully Telephone, representing small telcos.
George Griffith with the Iowa Peace Officers Association.
Kara Sorrells, representing Iowa APCO. Carol Lund Smith, Iowa Law Enforcement Academy.
Marcia Slycord, Pella PD.
Michelle Kingery, Marion County Sheriff's Office. Christine Meckler, Legislative Services Agency.
Diane Seifert, South Central Iowa.
Joel Martin, Iowa Utilities Board.
Amanda Roush, Story County 911.
Terry Brennan, Raycom.
Connie Stuffelbein, DPS.
Brian Madewell, Westcom.
Mike Casper, Lynn County Sheriff's Office.
Mindy Benson, Tama County Emergency Manager, 911 Director.
Brian Pike, Motorola Solutions.
Dan Pohl, Motorola Solutions.
Brian Flynn, Motorola Solutions.
Good morning, Jim Lundstedt, DHS CISA.
Mike Myers, CenturyLink.
Craig Kupak, CenturyLink.
John Drury, CenturyLink.
Doug McCaslin, Warren County 911.
Crystal McIntyre, Warren County Board of Supervisors.
Andy Buffington, Winnebago Hancock, EMA Communications.
Chris Myers on the SWIC.
Curtis Pion with the Polk County Sheriff's Office.
Brad Button, City of Des Moines Communications. Scott Rounds, Des Moines Police.
Mike Lauer, ICN.
Tammy Rodriguez, ICN.
Stephen Rodriguez, ICN.
Thank you. And then those folks on the phone.
Marilyn Stainer, Worth County 911.
Ron Bout, Service Area 7 Emergency Preparedness Coordinator.
Mary Miller, Iowa 911.
Brenda Vandervoort, Fayette County 911.
Therese Sexy, Humboldt County 911.
Darlene Schmidt, Wintershut County, Decorah 911.
Jamie Robinson, Mahaska EMA 911.
Joe McCarville, Cedar Rapids.
Mark Murphy,
Warren, Zetron.
Going on the phone, so it must not be.
Okay, if you have your phone on and you're not muted, please do so we don't have all the noise. But thank you and welcome. Could I please get a motion to approve today's agenda?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor? Against? Motion carries. And then likewise for the May 9th minutes, having no June minutes from the not having a meeting that month. Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Blake?
Go ahead and show my slides. And then just some quick housekeeping. There's a lot of people on the phone, I guess, for Kara's purposes for the minutes. If you're on the phone, could you just send myself or her an email and let us know you're on the phone with your name and organization, just because I think we probably missed a couple there. And then I have quite a bit to cover. We didn't have a meeting in June, so hang on tight. First off, we held a statewide alley webinar on June 6th. Waiting for my, there it is, okay. Initially, when we had scheduled that, we scheduled it like a month prior. We were hoping to basically get a bunch of Iowa PSAP stakeholders on the webinar and view the Comtech Alley statewide portal that they had to offer. And at that time, kind of pro and con, should we or should we not proceed with looking at a statewide alley contract, which Homeland Security would fund, and that would be the alley provider for the state. Prior to that webinar, in discussions with ICN and Comtech and CenturyLink regarding the transition of the wireline network, we found out that once that migration happens, once CenturyLink no longer provides the wireline selective router, that they would also no longer provide the alley. So for all those PSAPs that have CenturyLink or Intrado as their alley provider, no longer would be the case. So we still went ahead with that webinar, but the mindset had to kind of change a little bit to a, should we do this, should we not do this, to a, we're going to have to do this. So it was a high level presentation where, it was not click by click training, that's coming down the road, and really just an initial, this is what the portal is going to look like. This is what new reality is going to look like when we do migrate statewide alley onto the Comtech the alley database. So that also then kind of sent us back to the drawing board, and I know a few of you were wanting an update on the wireline migration, which we'll get into a little bit more, but wanted to cover this first. So luckily, way back in 2011 when we did the next generation contract, one of the items that was contracted for at the time was statewide alley through Comtech. So we've just never enacted that part of the contract before. So what we're doing now is basically through an amendment, enacting that part of the contract way back in 2011 that was negotiated back then. So it's not like we have to go out for RFP. Fairly simple, all things considered, on the procurement side of things. So as we migrate the wireline conversion, as we migrate the wireline network, it will be PSAP by PSAP, wireline and alley cut in the same day, the same night. So 2 or 3 a week times 113 PSAPs. So that kind of gives you the time frame that we're looking at. What's that?
Sorry, when are you starting?
Best guess is 6 months.
Starting in 6 months.
Yeah. So really what kind of happened as far as the timeline, the initial plan was to migrate the network and at some point down the road, perhaps cut the alley. Now we have to do it all at the same time. So the wireline migration got pushed back and the alley got sped up, and it falls about 6 months out is the timeline.
So this is going to be a huge deal as far as like when we get updates or corrections or new streets, we're not going to be using the Intrado site anymore.
Correct.
That's scary.
It's both for PSAPs as well as telcos as well. We'll have to do their updates through the Comtech system instead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can talk to you offline if you want. But does Comtech have a? When I say it's scary, it's like when you go into 911 net.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. When you go to 911 net, it's very organized, very easy to use. does Comtech, from what I've seen, Comtech never really had something like that.
They
At least they
do.
don't with wireless.
I would say they're new into it. They're providing it for Washington State as well. And that was part of that webinar. Again, not click-by-click training by any means, that's coming. But kind of a high level, they showed the interface, they showed the processes, they talked through the processes. So they have one, but you're right, it would be a new interface for the PSAPs as well as telcos. And yeah, it's gonna be a process. The other thing, Lawrence, we didn't record the webinar. There is and was so much influx that we didn't record it. I sent out notes as well as the slides that were presented, however, so I can make sure that you got those. You might not have. You might not have been on one of the distro lists that I used at the time.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. I can actually send it to everyone on the council. There might be some others that are interested as well. Any other questions on that before I move on? And ICN and Comtech is on the phone. They're going to talk a little bit more on the technical side of the transition here in a little bit, but just wanted to get the alley out there because it's a month old already. Okay. Moving on to some other items. The fiscal year closeout will be done the end of July, so it will be reported on next month. So we'll do the final quarterly payments, the end of July, then scrub the final numbers, and probably the beginning of August do that those end of year payments, kind of the pass-through amounts to zero out the operating surplus. So the last time we estimated it was in April, and that was for the Iowa NENA conference. And at that point, we anticipated around 39,000 would be passed through to the service boards for each PSAP. Not anticipating any significant changes since then, and takes quite a bit of work and looking at a lot of different items to get that number. So it's probably not worth rerunning right now, probably just worth waiting another month and seeing how the numbers actually fall out. But again, not anticipating too big of a difference from that 39,000 that we anticipated back in April. So you would expect that, or your service boards would expect that in the early August timeframe. I've been talking about the National 911 peer assessment for a number of months. I want to thank those that assisted. That was about 98 measurables that I had to compile information for. It's ready to be submitted. The self-evaluation part is just got to figure out how to email 200 pages and attachments and graphics so they can get all of those in an orderly fashion. The peer evaluators, so my peers from other states, about 5 of them, will be on site here in Iowa in September, and it's actually the week of the council meeting. So what's involved in that is that one of the first days I have to do a presentation to them. They're going to be looking at the self-evaluation and all the supporting documentation prior to even getting here. And then one of their last days, they'll do a brief out to myself. And by all means, we're going to throw the doors open on that brief out. So any stakeholder, 911 stakeholder in the state of Iowa is more than welcome to attend. That self-evaluation it was quite an effort. Some of the items, squarely sit with me as the 911 program manager, but a lot of them also sat with local jurisdictions or ILEA for training, or ICN or Comtech for more of the technical aspects of what we do. So it was quite an effort, and I appreciate those that helped out. And September, hopefully we have the payoff and kind of a roadmap forward on next steps and how to better improve the program. October 14th, it actually happens to be Columbus Day. I don't have it off. I hear most of you don't have it off. We're going to have the afternoon before the Iowa APCO NENA conference starts for the 911 program update. We've done that in years past. We didn't have the opportunity to do it last year, but we're going to get back on track with that. So kind of a half day, just 911 chat about all things within the program and things that are coming up. With the end of the fiscal year, I wanted to show everyone the results of the fiscal year 2019 GIS grant. In June, 4 additional counties received the grant fund. So you can see the map of shame. By all measurables, the way that we did and structured the grant this year was very successful. We put more money out the door, more counties were awarded grants, and our data is now better. So I'm really happy with how it all turned out, and we're going to keep going for the fiscal year 2020. The benchmarks will be upped, but it's really the same process. So 2 6-month periods. Again, the benchmarks being 98% GIS match rate, that's no change. 95% alley match rate, that's up from 50% the previous fiscal year. On the grid to the right, you can see where folks already are for the alley accuracy. So you can see the vast majority are already at about 90 or above. So again, hoping to drive those accuracy rates up and actually start using that data in the near future. That webinar that we did to talk about the GeoComm Data Hub, that new portal, as well as kind of those benchmark descriptions, that webinar is posted to our website. Wanted to show you the figures for closing out the 2019 fiscal year on the Council Travel, Public Education, and Training Fund. We expended almost $93,000. That $7,000, that's not lost by any means. That gets put back into the operating surplus that ultimately gets divvied up 113 different ways and sent out to local service boards. So again, that's not like we lost that money or it goes right back to the PSAPs. Again, by all measurables, this was the best year for using the training fund. More people trained than we ever have before, over 1,000 people, 1,000 people took different sessions, 24 courses or sessions, and then 14 awardees received the funds. All of those are more than any other year. And I know this is on the agenda for a little bit later, but just wanted to show everyone in the audience and the council members what was requested. If you remember last July, we had a run on the fund. So we didn't even have any applicants come August. That's not the case this year. About a quarter of the fund was requested in July, but there still will be opportunities for those that want to apply in additional months. You can see the rundown there of who applied. And like I said, I know we'll talk about it later, just wanted to show everyone. And with that, I believe Lynn Warren is on the call from Zetron. And before I turn it over to her, were there any other questions for me? Okay, I'm going to keep standing here and advancing the slides, but Lynn, you can go ahead.
Good morning. Yes, Lynn Warren here with Zetron, and just waiting for the slides.
You can go ahead. I have it on the first slide.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was waiting for them to be projected, so let me... Are they going to be shared?
You should be seeing them if you're on the live stream.
I am, but they are not being, I'm not seeing them.
What are you seeing?
Zetron shared services, where, there we go. Yep, okay, next slide then. Currently we're deploying Mahaska. Detailed schedule is showing there. We're all on schedule for turning up the circuits next week. And then the week after we will be going live, as well as the power phone service will be going live next week as well. Next slide. I guess it's just a slow.
Which slide do you want? I'll just make sure to show that slide.
There we go. Yep. Yep. Go to the next slide is the one that shows the plan for all the upcoming deployments.
Okay.
Yeah. Go to slide 12.
Yep. That's what we have in the room.
Okay. So this slide shows all of the deployments that we currently have planned coming up. We've done Jefferson County and Poweshiek are already complete, as I showed there. Mahaska is underway. We are planning Hancock and Winnebago. I do have a note there that the third bullet that we recently this week had Cedar Rapids DPS, Storm Lake DPS, and Des Moines DPS orders come in, and these are going to be a high priority. So we will probably be moving those in to the schedule and moving some of the other ones out. They have a dependency that they need to be deployed in November. The other thing that we are working on, of course, is to start paralleling up the deployments, and our goal is to be doing 2 or 3 a month. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that we have a lot of, it's a bit of an eye chart, but we have a lot of PSAPs in the pipeline as we're working through the pre-sales process, getting them all on board, doing site surveys, and working through the deployment process. And then if you go to what should be slide 14, I don't know, Blake, if you can.
Yep, we're there. We're there on the room, in the room. We're on 14.
Okay. So what we're showing there is I'm going to start showing each month a sort of a running total of what we have with as the PSAPs work through the schedule, how many we have turned up, and as we work through with the circuits and the quotes, et cetera. So we'll be able to monitor our progress as we go along. So come August, we will have 3 live and be working on several other turn-ups. Are there any questions?
Doesn't look like it.
Thank you.
And then Mike, from ICN, yeah, if you want to come up.
Morning, Council. Since it's been a few months since we provided an update, I'll just go over a quick synopsis of where we're at, how we got here quick. As you guys can remember, ICN did go out for RFP for last mile access to procure connections to all local telco switch offices and in order to help provide lowest cost possible services to the state and all 911 constituents. After 2 rounds of those bids, and the vendor conference, ICN selected CenturyLink as the winner of that RFP based on the cost and also what was provided for technical response for the Camatrunk connectivity to ICN to aggregate back to the Comtech data centers. During this time, CenturyLink and Level 3, as you guys might know, started kind of to not only merge business units but also start to merge some of their processes. And with that, it's basically, well, we're still in contract negotiations for them with Level 3. This process has taken longer than we expected, and a lot of that is due to the state of Iowa did not have any master service agreement with Level 3, so we had to go back through everything that we had beforehand. Specifically, what we had with CenturyLink didn't cut the butter, for lack of a better term. So we're actually good on that. As far as I know, we're expecting sometime by next week to get the final signature. Everything's been approved towards it. We just have to go ahead and get the final draft cleared up and get that signed. So Iowa's AG and also I believe the Level 3 side of the house are happy with where we're at there. With that, even though we have pending contracts, ICN and Comtech are still working on our finalization of transition plan. That hasn't stopped anything. We're going forward with it. We still have all the plans working to go with this. And so what does that mean, right? Our hope, as Blake said, was within the next 6 months to start PSAP by PSAP, local exchange, basically cut over to the aggregation network that will be put in place towards that. Of course, that is, we have to finish up the alley transition plans and go forward with the database being hashed out on the alley side. So we are waiting on that. What that will mean for local PSAPs, what that will mean for telcos is you're going to be basically expected to see a packet that's going to be coming your way, hopefully in the next couple of weeks to month. We have to finalize that based on alley. We have to also make sure that we get all the individual PSAP CPE providers on board with this, because on the night of a cut, as you guys well know, there's gonna have to be some configuration that's preloaded and cut over at that time frame. So that onboarding package, as of right now, is around 20 pages right now. That includes everything from technical contacts to, you know, what's the best date and time for you guys, verify that this is still your CPE vendor, what we have on file, so on and so forth. And then there's test plans. So that will all be given ahead of time. So that will allow local telcos to digest that, get whatever help they need, but then also come back and help communicate to us what's gonna be the best time for cutover for you guys, because it's not just PSAPs, it's also the local exchange that we have to work with as well. So as I said, our hope is to get that going in the next couple of weeks to months, get that finalized, and then get those guys sent out, and then it will be the tedious process of getting things moved over one by one, but know that that's gonna be the best for the state and for all PSAPs, you know, to not be as disruptive for 911 calling. So only other update I have on this is ICN is building part of the RFP that ICN won with wireline aggregation was to make things stronger. So we were building out redundancy to the data centers that Comtech sits in right now currently. We're about 70% of the way complete with that build out. We already have connectivity into them. This is just extra redundancy to help meet public safety grade needs. With that, any questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
That's all I have, and I think Bill from Comtech is also on the call if there's any other questions on wireline transition or anything, but unless there's any other questions, that would be the end of our report. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Bill, do you have anything you'd like to report or talk about? Bill? Okay. Moving on, training funds request. My worst nightmare was not realized. I thought maybe we'd have over $100,000 of requests in this first meeting. That didn't happen, so that's good. We do have about $16,480 worth of requests. The first one is Polk County Gold Line Success. I think we're mostly familiar with the Gold Line Success training. Is there anyone from Polk County, though, that wishes to speak on that? Please go ahead.
This is actually a request through Westcom, but it's mainly for one of our training coordinators and a couple of our dispatchers attended the training. They found it quite beneficial and they wanted to bring it back for all of our staff, but also wanted to share it with the Metro and the Central Region as well. And that's the sole purpose for the request. Any questions?
What's the maximum amount of participants?
I believe it was 50 and we have 3, and Joe, I believe, is on the call and he'll be able to correct that. And we have 3 classes planned.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'd like to bring it up to a vote. I understand that Rob will abstain from this vote, but,
Me too.
I will as well,
okay,
just because we're all Polk County.
sure. All right. So could I entertain a motion to approve the Polk County Westcom request for $5,000 in training funds? Do I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Against? And motion carries. Okay, next up is Decorah PD, a training seminar entitled Everyone Communicates 911 Needs to Connect. Is there anyone from Decorah PD who wishes to speak on this? Either here or on the phone.
Darlene Schmidt is on the phone right now. We enjoyed Joe McCarville's Gold Line training, and we thought we'd entertain the thought of getting people up in Northeast Iowa to participate in one of his programs again. So that's why we're requesting the $2,500 for his class.
Okay, does anybody have any questions about the class? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve Decorah PD's request.
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Next up, ILEA, positive interaction with difficult people. Would you like to speak about that? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Rodder and Board. This year, we had Adam Tim come and present for the first time at the Academy. It was very well received. So I'm requesting funds for next year to have him back for positive interaction with difficult people, which, as we know, 911 dispatchers deal with difficult people every single day. So I'm requesting the funds to be able to have Adam back and offer a different course this year for telecommunicators.
Very good. Any questions? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve ILEA's request. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. Thank you. And last but not least, Nina's request, liability issues in the 911 center training officer preventing telecommunicator tunnel vision and leadership in the 911 center. Is there anyone from Nina who would like to speak on that?
Brandon, the president of Iowa, Nina, he did provide a statement for me to read. So if you guys do want to hear that, I will provide that. He said there are 3 one-day courses and the 3-day CTO course going over the summit for 3 days. A person can attend any combination of the one-day courses they wanted and to have the availability or the CTO class. They're offered at a discounted rate. Iowa Nina is asking the state to cover 100% of the cost, so there's a full scholarship. And he believes this is a great educational opportunity for Iowa. National Nina focuses on training areas where they don't get many requests for formal training because they want telecommunicators to have the best possible training. So they believe that this will be good for everybody right now. So they want to offer those full courses, and they're excited that they've selected Ames to host the summit, and they want Iowa telecommunicators to get the most out of the awesome training in our state. So any questions? I think Brandon is on the conference call. So.
I just have a question on the maximum course participants. It says 20 per course. Is that due to spacing, or is that due to the vendor stating that 20 is the maximum?
I think it's due to funding. They didn't want to take all the training funds available, so they're offering a full scholarship, and so people don't have to take any of this money out of their own pockets because funding's limited. So that's why. Other people can attend, but they'd have to do their own cost.
Sure. And has there been any interest from, I guess, any entity, Polk County, Story County, Marshall County, Jasper, anyone around the metro area? We want to try it, since Ames is pretty much the central portion of the state. Want to make sure that folks in Decorah or Sioux City or whoever can attend as well. Just want to make sure that's the case.
I think that it was selected by National Nina. I can't 100% speak on that, but I believe that it wasn't his choice on the location. I think that was already set.
Sounds good.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve the Nina request. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, any further discussion?
And I'm going to abstain on this.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? And motion carries. Thank you. All right, technical advisory, anything? Nope, okay. Up next, Chris Myers.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the rest of the council. Some updates for you. I've got a little bit more since there was no meeting last month, so I'll be as expeditious as I can. As far as the PSAP grant goes, the consulates and control stations are being rolled out for those that ordered the Harrises and Motorola's. We're sorting through some final programming aspects for a couple of the Kenwoods. You may have gotten an email recently that was designed to be a follow-up email. I don't know if my first email actually went out saying that they're ready to go, so I apologize for any confusion on that. There is a test call that's slated for early August for this equipment. Naturally, since we're in July, if you don't have a chance to get that control station or consulate up and running in your PSAP before that time, the board will work on a makeup call with you. So it's not like that's a deadline that you got to kill yourself to try to get to. If there's a technical problem that prevents getting the equipment or logistical issue, we'll work with you on a makeup date. We have several applications that are up for approval today. They include Audubon County Emergency Management as Level 2, Blakesburg Fire and Rescue as Level 1, City of Cedar Rapids is Level 2, Dickinson County Emergency Management, this is an amended one, that's Level 2, Henry County Sheriff, Level 1, Pella PD, Level 1, Polk County, and the various agencies associated with Polk County for Level 1. So those are up for approval today. We have some letters for interoperability agreements that have been adopted and will be sent out to our neighboring states of South Dakota, Minnesota, and Missouri. We're working on an MOU with Illinois and Wisconsin. The MOU with Illinois is actually really close. And we've made some very positive progress with Nebraska as well. Kind of the center of a lot of these agreements is allowing Iowa agencies to connect and use those neighboring states' statewide interoperability networks for interoperability in case there's an event that's right on the state border. It would be really nice if Iowa agencies, if they had to, could log on to the neighboring state's network and vice versa, or if a patch has to be made between the two networks, we could do that too. So that work continues. We also have some training updates for you. These are our TA requests from ECD. I want to remind everybody that the PSAP cybersecurity webinar is in August, so it's coming up. We have 100 seats that are available for that, and we're working on trying to make sure that this is recorded too. So if you miss it, it'll still be available. So far, we have about 40 or so registrations. I'd love to see all 113 PSAP sign up for this thing because I think cybersecurity is a moving target, and the earlier we can get out in front of any potential issues, the better. I think it's slated to be around 90 minutes, so it's not going to be a full day commitment. And if you have any questions on that, I can take them offline. We have our CompT also that's coming up early this fall. That's also available for sign up on the HSCMD website. That'll be in Clarinda at the fire department there. We had a lot of interest from Southwest Iowa for CompT, so that is there. We have 7 attendees so far that have registered. ComL got approved last month. We also have an incident tactical dispatcher class coming up. More information on those with respect to the logistics will be coming out relatively soon. Finally, we're undergoing a skip refresh right now at the board. This refresh is just basically designed to be a very, very light refresh in that we're just kind of looking at what's changed, and we're just aligning some of the language in that skip to match the current landscape. If you think back to when we did the skip last time, it was in 2017. That was before the ISIX platform was built out. It was before the state opted into FirstNet. And since then, also, there's been an update to the National Emergency Communications Plan. So those light updates will help kind of update some of the language in there with respect to ISIX and FirstNet, then also make sure that some of our initiatives align with the National Emergency Communications Plan update. That's my update for the council today. I'll take any questions. All right.
All right. Thank you, Chris. Okay. Usually we would hear from Jim Lundstedt at this point, but he's told me that has nothing more to add beyond what was discussed at the conference. So we'll move to the Chapter 34A Administrative Code Committee update.
I have no updates this time. I'm working on gathering some recommendations. I also want to try to revamp it so we get more participation. We've been having the same individuals participate, which is great, but we do want some more blood in there that's from different areas and different types of stuff. So I'm trying to maybe put something together that maybe we can get more interest.
Okay, so there it is. We still want participation. So if you've been sitting on the sideline and thinking about participating, now would be a great time to jump in there. Thank you, Tracy. And then we'll hear from the Baseline Knowledge for 911 Communications Professionals Committee update.
Good morning. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. So just a quick update. We sent out a survey. Thanks for Blake for helping get that out. We actually got 147 responses to that, which I thought was really good. We've got a meeting scheduled for July 30th where we'll get together and start breaking down all the information that we got and taking a look at next steps. So hopefully we'll get a little bit more from that next meeting when we can actually digest some of the information that we got. It's quite a bit of information that was shared in the survey. So we'll keep moving forward and hopefully have a little bit more to share with the council soon.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, legislative issues. Anything? Okay. Any unfinished business that I'm not aware of? Yeah.
I don't know if unfinished or new business, but since they're right together, to avoid the chair from having a potential worst nightmare of his life. Next meeting, let's have a discussion about, I don't think we ever came up with a plan for prioritizing, or what if we get more training requests than we have money for? Are we gonna do it? So if we're gonna do it first come, first serve, Blake, keep some kind of order. Maybe how much we wanna set maybe as a in reserve to keep for travel request till a certain date. If we have that discussion now, at least it's out and in the open. And if we can't decide, then we can't decide. We'll deal with the nightmare.
Well, I liked how we did it here this last time, where we put a moratorium as we got closer at the halfway point of the fiscal year. That seemed to work really well, and then we still did keep money left behind for travel for the council. So that has worked well. I know we talked about a merit system, and we talked about geographical locations and things like that. I know, I believe it's been discussed in the 34A committee as well.
And I also believe that one thing that we did better last year that we haven't done in the past was use the council's discretion. So we are under no obligation to improve the entire amount of funding. So if we see we're getting close and then we see that maybe it's not going to be as accessible to the entire state, we have that discretion to say, you don't get the 10,000, but we will reward you 6,000. Will this impede your ability to have training? So we can ask those follow-up questions. And if they're not, and that's the importance of having a representative there at the time so we can ask those questions. So, and again, it goes back to when I brought it up the last time, we didn't have anything in writing before we started. So I believe that this is where that venue for that Chapter 34A for those best practices and recommendations should come in. So I would recommend us do what we did last year, use that flexibility from the council, and then have the Chapter 34A bring something to the council that can be implemented for next year. That's in writing, if that's the way that this council wants to go.
Does that address your concern?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for bringing it up, though. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, under new business, I'm going to throw out, I didn't want to put anybody on the spot today, but as you know, we will be needing a secretary for the council, and I would ask that anyone interested in that be thinking about that over this next month, and that the August meeting, you'll see that it will be on the agenda for nominations and then moving forward to appoint a new secretary for the council. So just a heads up. Any other new business?
Not really new business. If just when you brought up the technical part of the agenda, I did have something I wanted to bring up, and it's another little bit sensitive issue. If you remember a couple years back when National, APCO, and NENA were quarreling a little bit about what the I-3 standard was and what it wasn't, and how we do 911 nationwide, that got a little bit sensitive at the national level. Wanted to make everyone aware of another sensitivity between the two national organizations, and I'm glad that everyone gets along well here at the state. There is a CAD to CAD standard that was jointly worked on between APCO and NENA and a host of others back in 2014 that was loosely copyrighted. It was dusted off and modified and updated back in 2016 as well with stricter copyright rules. NENA requested in 2018 into 2019 to dust that off for a third time. and APCO did not want to do that, and threatened copyright lawsuits over NINA opening it up on their own behalf to update that CAD to CAD standard. So NINA, and they publicized this a little bit. It's not, a secret. They talked about it at the national conference. NINA is going to dust off the loosely copyrighted 2014 document and update that, rather than updating the 2016 document to keep them out of a lawsuit. So just so everyone knows, that is going on. Again, super happy that everyone gets along at the state level between the two organizations. But if you hear anything, that's kind of what's going on. There is, again, another little bit of a quarrel over the CAD to CAD standard update for interoperability between CAD systems. So kind of a technical update for you, and make sure everyone kind of is aware that that's going on at the national level.
Okay, thank you, Blake. Any other new business? Okay, travel requests. Don't believe we have any. Okay, do we have any business from the floor? Any business on the phone? Okay, hearing none, I would request a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.